Nvidia is being denied by the major tech giants of Google, Qualcomm, and Microsoft. Intel looks to have a brand new CEO and may be dropping prices, and NZXT finally issues a recall for their fire hazard of a case, the NZXT H1. We're going to get into all of that tech news today here on Hot News. I am your host, Brett. Why don't you make sure to hit the like button and get subscribed in case you care about tech news. We're going to be getting into that today. So let's start off with our top story of Nvidia's purchase of ARM being objected to from the major players in the field. You can see right here, Qualcomm has reportedly objected to Nvidia's $40 billion acquisition of ARM, but it is not just them. Google and Microsoft also joining in to say that this is a massive violation of antitrust laws and should not be moved forward on, and essentially saying that if Nvidia acquires ARM, they have zero reason to keep ARM as a neutral company. They have zero reason to oblige by the licenses structures that are being made by ARM currently, and that it would be in Nvidia's best interest once they have the deal gone through to cut off Google, Microsoft, Apple even from utilizing ARM's technology, making it proprietary, and then taking a technological advantage for themselves. That is essentially the major criticism that's going around. It's kind of interesting that Apple is not necessarily joining into the chorus of complaining about what's going on here, but it does kind of bring up the same issues that were around when Nvidia first announced this potential merger for $40 billion. ARM licenses its architecture to several big players, and Nvidia has a competitive desire to necessarily destroy them in order to be the top dog in whatever industry that they're competing in. And it's kind of been proven time and time again that Nvidia is just willing to do what needs to get done in order to push other players out of the market, even if it's not at the benefit of the consumer. And so I would tend to agree with the idea that Nvidia might not use ARM technology for the good of humanity. What do you think about this? I'm keen to hear what your thoughts are. Should Nvidia be allowed to purchase ARM? Let me know down in the comments. But we'll also talk about Nvidia's RTX 3060 because just a couple weeks before launch, we now have the specs completely confirmed by Nvidia themselves, starting at $329, launching February 25th. And you can see coming in with a 3,584 CUDA-core setup. This is essentially what we already knew out on the internet, but now being confirmed by Nvidia directly. However, you won't be able to get them, so don't necessarily care about it too much. It's like when your parents promise to be there for your high school graduation. You just say, okay, mom, yeah, you tell that to my little league games that you never showed up to. I'll believe it when I see it. And now we can believe that there is a brand new CEO installed at Intel. Pat Gelsinger officially becoming the CEO now. This is the official transition has taken place. So we've already known that this was coming. It was kind of being worked on. So as of yesterday, he is the CEO. But now we also have our first review of the 11th gen 11700K, the engineering sample being benchmarked and showing that it's actually very competitive with AMD's current offerings. If it happens to launch in March, then it might actually still stay relevant, especially if AMD continues to struggle with getting their stock out there. It's showing that it actually is being exactly competitive with the 5800X. So pricing is really going to come into play here. However, the benchmarks also show that the power draw is 27% higher with the 11700K versus the AMD chip, which makes it better for winter. Obviously, you put this into your PC and you can heat your whole house. I know our Texas friends would absolutely appreciate having Intel in their system right now. What's inside your space heater? Intel inside. But we also have benchmarks of the 11900T power efficiency model, and it's showing that in single core performance, it's actually quite on par with AMD as well. The 11900T doing pretty decently and even beating the 10th gen Intel. So it does look like Intel's new 11th gen chips based on their new architecture are going to be competitive. We obviously just need to wait to hear on pricing, but it does look like Intel might be adjusting pricing. Maybe the new CEO might bring in a new era of them doing things differently. According to some reports that are going on the internet right now, it looks like pricing on all Intel chips is kind of eking down to the point where they're becoming more affordable. The 10700K going for about $40 cheaper, 10700F going for about $90 cheaper. You can see right here, $230 for the 8-core 16-thread chip with no integrated graphics, which makes this a phenomenal deal if you can pick it up at this price. Who knows if this is Intel driving this or if this is some other thing that's going on with the pricing pricing structure, but it's always good news to see that the market is getting better. Now we just need to see this happen on GPUs. And to stay on Intel for one last second, it appears that there's a new chip coming out from them in the 10th gen. I know they're launching the 11th gen, but apparently the 10900KS Special Edition processor should be coming out sometime soon. This kind of goes with the i7-8086K, the 9900KS, and now a 10900KS should be launching. It was supposed to coincide with the Crisis Remastered game bundle campaign. Who knows if this will actually come out, what price it'll be at, how long it'll exist, but in case you want the special version, it might be coming out soon. In case you want the special version of Metro Exodus, it's been announced that you'll be able to get that for free if you already own the game. There's going to be an enhanced edition for the PC, as well as a PS5 and Xbox Series upgrade that you can get for the game, as well as long as you own the game. Console players will now get ray tracing in that game for the first time, and then PC players will just get some other goodness added onto the game. Speaking of goodness, we have now the goodness of PlayStation 5's SoC die being completely pictured. In case this is interesting to you, you really like the technical breakdown of this kind of stuff, there's some interesting information about this, like it doesn't have certain features that you would expect to find on a Zen 2 CPU, so we'll leave links in the video description in case you're at all interested in that. And in case you at all have an NZXT H1 case, you should be concerned with getting it off the actual PCI Express riser because it's a fire hazard. It's been proven time and again that it could short and potentially burn down, and now officially, months later, after Gamers Nexus kind of called them out on it weeks ago, saying that, hey, your nylon screw solution isn't quite good enough. You might want to do a full recall. The full recall is now happening in the US and Canada. Approximately 32,000 units were circulated in the US. So if you have one, you should absolutely contact NZXT and get them to take it back. But what is a good situation is to destroy the relationships. You want to burn down your house with a PC case? No, thank you. You want to burn down your friendships with video games that stress you out and make you toss vegetables onto the floor? Overcooked All You Can Eat is coming to many platforms. March 23rd is essentially the first and second game all rolled into one. It's coming to the Switch, PS4, Xbox One, and Steam on March 23rd, so that you can play it all together. And maybe eventually it'll come out to xCloud gaming because Microsoft has started to work on the web browser version of that cloud gaming. I've always wanted to browse at clouds, and now I can do that with video games. Thank you, Microsoft. Good stuff. And Google, speaking of their cloud streaming stuff, they're saying that they're planning on releasing 100 games for Stadia this year. So they've already got a bunch out, but they're planning on launching several more. But if Stadia's previous track record's any indication, they're gonna wait for half the year and then just say, hey, we don't want any more games. This is not working out the way we thought it was going to, so we give up now. That's partially a joke. Google actually did keep to their promise of how many games they were going to launch on Stadia in 2020. They actually launched the full amount of titles that they promised to. So I expect that they're going to do this in all seriousness, but they also shut down their game studio that they said would take 3 to 4 years to produce anything in just over a year. So don't necessarily trust them. And don't trust Komodo dragons to not eat you. Segueing to the fact that Twitch has a new PogChamp emote. The previous PogChamp emote had to be removed for reasons, and now they have designed this one with the Komodo dragon doing the thing. And you should be PogChamping down to that like button. PogChamp that like button, my friends. Also, check out last week's episodes of Hot News in case you missed them. You'd stay up to date on all of the tech-related content we got going on. Here we have another episode of Hot News for you later today. With that being said, I've been Brett, your host. Thank you so much for watching. Get subscribed, and I'll see you in just a few hours for the second episode of Hot News. Cheers.